Hello everyone. This hour on Verbling, the next in my Great Short Stories series, we're going to be completing short story 27, Secrets by Tim Winston, and in the second half of class, we will probably begin and perhaps even read the entirety of uh, Barthelme's The Game. I'm sorry, Game, not the game. Game. Well, more about that in just a minute. I've given you some activities to try. We can look at them together, and if you've had a chance, we can go right into the questions you've created and the vocabulary that you've um, tried on your own according to the activities that I outlined for you, or we can do it as a group. So we'll do that with Tim Winston's story in just a minute. First, a little bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom quiet. Tune in to the new words you're learning when you are speaking so I can correct you and give you feedback. Oh, let me just mute you for a second because I'm getting a lot of background noise. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And now I want to open, there you go, Tim Winston's story. And I want to jump down to the exercises you can see here. Okay, I made a note this morning to do as many or few of these as you like. The purpose is to help us think about the story and to learn from the language the author used. See you in class. So you don't have to do this as a writing exercise, or it doesn't have to be very elaborate. The questions were there just to help you think about the story. And in the other exercises here, I gave you an example and 2 words that I thought would be very difficult, and I wanted you to come up with 1 or 2 of your own. It's more just to get in the habit of how to learn from a native text. So this is just one technique you could use. And finally, in thinking about the story, it's good to analyze it in terms of the elements of a story, like the plot, the setting, the characters. So I gave you an example of a context question. You could have chosen any of those to create a question of your own. And the question you're creating is based on something that you figured out about the story. Like maybe there's something about a character you have an opinion about. So rather than tell us your opinion, you're going to ask us so that we can discuss it. At least we could do something like that. So don't look at this as something you have to do in its entirety. It's more just to guide you along in your thinking. All right, so welcome to class, everyone. Yuki, Daniel, and Andrew. Nice to have you. How are you doing? So why don't we take a look at some of the discussion questions first? Actually, no, just a quick thing, because this was a little bit difficult. Let me actually start with the vocabulary first. So I gave you an example on this page, and I'm just curious if any of you had a chance to do this. My example was with the word furtive. So I picked out the word. I just hit Control F on the document for find, and I found the sentence because I had picked out furtive before. She had a bloody comb and a furtive way of pecking the ground. The sentence was about the hen, the one that Kylie finds. And so I had to make a guess. What does furtive mean from that sentence or from the context? I guessed that it meant nervous, something like that. That's my impression. So then I created a definition. I didn't look it up. I just created one of my own. So it seems like the hen is preoccupied with a situation. So I wrote to be preoccupied with an unspoken situation, or unsaid, or obvious but not acknowledged. And then I created my own example here. So I'm curious if you could do the same for fossicking and winked off, and then if you have one or two of your own, I'd really like to hear them. So what do you think?
It's like looking for something.
For which? Fossicking?
For checking, yes.
Okay, so the sentence I came up with in the story was, for some time she poked and scratched about fossicking snails and slugs. Okay, and so your definition, Daniel, is, your guess is, it's like looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
I couldn't find in the dictionary.
Oh, that's okay. You don't have to use the dictionary.
No?
Use the context. Read the story, look at the paragraph, use the context. Don't worry about the dictionary. We'll use the dictionary here if we need to. So if you had to define it, would you define it as just to look for something, or is it more specific? I'm just curious.
Mm,
Think it's a good definition to look for?
to make a choice between several snails.
To look for, okay. So let's turn that into English.
I have a picture in my mind, but a hen pig on the ground.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So it sounds like you're saying look for, and
I can see the action in my mind, but I can't say the word or the.
but it sounds like you're saying it's not just looking, but it's also choosing. So maybe the definition could be to look for and choose between.
I
So,
looked up the dictionary, and I know that fossicking is a Australian word, and it means searching for gold. So here it means search around, especially for profit. Yeah, profit. So
we have a word in American English and British English too, gold digger, gold digging, like this. Gold digging. Oops, I guess it's two words. I think it's one word though. Anyway, it's correcting me. So that usually means that you're looking for opportunities if you're gold digging.
I think it sounds a little greedy.
Yep, that's right. So, what would be an example in your own words? Can you create an example? And that's Yuki, Daniel, or Andrew, any of you. Can you create an example of your own?
I was fossicking in my old papers or my old documents.
Oops, I lost my page. One second. I lost my page. Hold on, wait. Let me go back to where I was. Oh, sorry. There we go. I lost my page. I don't know why that happened. I was fossicking, you said, in my old documents? Is that right? Daniel? Hello, Daniel? Can everyone hear me? Hello, hello?
I hear you.
Oh, Daniel, what? I didn't catch the last part of what you said.
Sorry, my computer is frozen.
Oh, okay, no problem. So you said fossicking in my old documents, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, we just need a little bit more information, because if it's looking for gold, you have to tell us what was in your old documents, or why were they special.
I spent time for seeking in my old documents.
Yeah, but what were you looking for? You see what I mean?
And
What makes them?
my grandfather will.
Ah, all right. Good work. I was fossicking in. Well, here it says in the story, it says fossicking snails and slugs out of the long grass. Fossicking in my old documents. I wonder if it's fossicking without the preposition. Remember, this is Australian English, not American English, so I wouldn't use it, but I can take a look in a second. So I was fossicking my old documents.
I would say,
Okay, I just seen a photo about for seeking. Okay,
You have a
I
photo?
yes.
Share it with us. Share your screen. What were you going to say, Yuki?
I am my example maybe.
Mhm.
I'm focusing in my jewelry box and see if I could find something precious.
Fossicking. I wonder if you could say fossicking around.
Uh,
I don't know. I'm just saying because it's not an American word. But jewelry. Oh, a jewelry box for, let's say, something precious. Sounds okay to me. Here's an example from a good source. Let's see. Um, Let me see if I found a really good one here from The Guardian. Look at this one. Here's a good one from The Guardian. That's a major newspaper, right? The Guardian. So I'll put that one on screen here. And let's change the color so you can see it's a little different than the others. Best of all is the night tour, when you have the chance to spot the lovable Kiwi fossicking for food. Kiwi is someone from New Zealand.
A bird.
Say again?
A bird
Not a bird,
without
a
wings.
person.
A fruit.
It's a person. In
Yeah.
this case, it's a person. Yes,
Oh.
it used to be a bird, but now it's a person. A person from New Zealand. The slang is called
Ah.
Kiwi.
Ah.
So I go to the original document. Give me a second. I'm going to go to the original document and read the little passage for you. 1 second. Where is it? There we go. It's talking about just west of the city, Zealandia is a pioneering conservation project 10 minutes away. It's the world's first fully fenced urban wildlife sanctuary. Go there to see New Zealand in its pre-human state when there were no mammals but countless birds. Best of all is the night tour when you have the chance to spot the lovable kiwi fossicking for food. In this case, it is a bird. You're right. I guess they really meant the bird. But usually we say kiwi as kind of a slang, a joke for people from New Zealand. Just like people from the Arctic Circle are penguins, maybe? I don't know. People down there are kiwis. Okay, it's not bad. Let's see if we can do one more. The sun winked off. What is this? Winked off it in the morning. Okay, that's taken from. Let's go back to that paragraph just so you can see what we're describing here. 1 second. Here we go. It's from the part 2, third paragraph. Philip had shown Kylie and her mother the round, galvanized tin cover of the bore well in the backyard. The sun winked off it in the morning. Philip said it was 36 feet deep, blah, blah, blah. The sun winked off. So maybe that's easy to understand, just the way it is. It's not really the word we would use. It's the author being creative. So what's your guess about the meaning?
Too bright.
Too
Bright. B-R-I-G-H-T.
bright.
Bright.
Okay, but it's a verb. It's a verb, right?
Bright is noun. I think it's shine.
Shiny. Yeah. Let's change this back to black. Okay. So
Bright.
we can say to be bright, but I would say shine is a better one because that can really be a verb, right?
Or flash.
Maybe it is a verb to brighten.
Yeah, but if we say to brighten, that means that something was the opposite of bright, like an old mirror that's gotten dusty or something, and then you clean it, and then it starts to shine because you've cleaned it. You have brightened it. Like you go out and you polish a surface, like the surface of your car, you polish it, and then it brighten it up. So that would have a different meaning. I think to shine is okay. Not to flash, that's what a camera does, but to shine is good, and maybe to
show.
Well, winked off here is what you do with your eye. Actually, you wink at someone.
It's the same meaning of blink, maybe.
No, not the same exactly. It's blink, but to send a message to someone.
To close an eye.
Exactly, to close an eye, but you know, I winked at the girl in the subway, and she slapped me in the face. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're sending. You have to be careful who you're winking at. So I would say here, it in the context it means to shine, or what's the word? To reflect. Here it's to reflect the sun, right? That's what I would guess.
Flash on and off, maybe. No? Flash off.
Well, not flash, but reflect. Because flash for me is like a light bulb going off on an old camera, right? So flash means that it generates the light.
Mm-hmm.
But this is that metal cover of the well, so it's not, there's no light, it's just, maybe it's wet or something, and the sunlight is reflecting off of it. What about an example of your own? What do you think? Difficult. Very difficult. What do you think?
Christmas tree.
Good. I see where you're going.
With lights. With lights is winking off.
Well, because it means to reflect, right?
Mm.
Because it means to reflect as well, we could maybe say
Christmas tree with light.
How about the star at the top of
that's at the top of that Christmas tree.
Right.
Winked off the face of a child.
Well, not exactly, almost. The star, how about this? We'd have to, it's got to reflect, so winked the candle light off it. I don't know if that's confusing or not, but it actually would be a pretty good example. I don't know why I've got an extra line there. Sorry, it's a little hard to read.
Maybe the car light in the night.
Exactly. Wink off of what?
Wink off in my forehead.
Is your forehead a reflective surface?
Yes, I'm a little bit bold.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
But they could wink off the glass in the paintings mounted on the wall. The car lights went through the window and winked off the glass of the painting. So here it's really a metaphor because the definition, as you said, is to, whoops, where's my X tool? 1 second. The definition, as you said, Daniel, is to, oh, what is wrong with this document? Hold on. It's not letting me write. Give me a second. There we go. To close an eye to send a message. So it means reflect, but it's also a metaphor. So it's not something you're going to use in everyday language, okay? But my point is, look what we got. We now have a good strategy for how to work with new native level vocabulary. Find the word, go back to the context in column 2, give your guess, create your own definition. You can always look it up too if you want, but I don't think you really need to. But if you want, you can. But then the most important thing is create your own example and get a native speaker to correct it. Because the native speaker is the only one who can say whether you're using it in the right way or not. For example, with a preposition, if the context is exactly the same. So you do have to get it corrected. You can do that with a teacher, like me, and you can do that with an online website, like the great Japanese website Lang 8, if you've ever used it, where you can, that's one, even in Verbling, if you go to the community section, if you have a native speaker, so you can just quickly say, look, here's a sentence, does this make sense to you? Lang 8 is about exchanging texts. That's another website. A lot of these platforms will let you exchange messages like this. Wordreference.com, Sylvia was talking about that the other day. That's a great place to post questions as well. Okay, before we leave this activity, did any of you have a chance to choose your own word? If you didn't, don't worry about it, but if you did, I'm just curious if you picked a word from the text and put it through these 4 steps. Did anyone have a chance to pick out a word? No? Okay, then we'll move on.
I have a question about wink off. Is
Sure.
it a phrasal verb, or I could use directly wink for
It's
to
not a
send a
phrasal verb.
message?
It's not a phrasal verb. It's a word that the author invented because I've never heard anyone say it before. But it makes sense. It's poetic, right? Because we can see immediately what he's trying to say. Okay, listen. My purpose is to give you a strategy to work with vocabulary. Is the strategy clear?
Yes.
Okay. So Daniel, if it's clear for you, what would you do if you found a word in the text that you thought was important to remember and you wanted to figure it out? What would you do exactly using this little chart? First, I would what? In other words, just explain the logic of it so I know that it's 100% clear. So what would you do first? Is that clear? Look, Daniel, look at this one. Look at this word here. Flex. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine you didn't know what flex meant.
I don't know.
It's perfect then. Imagine you don't know what it means. Okay, so look, what are you going to do? Just walk me through the steps really quickly, just so that I know you know, and as a class we can fill in the other columns if you want. So the first thing you're going to do is pick your word, and there it is. What's the next thing you're going to do, Daniel?
Find the sentence.
Exactly, and that's easy to do because guess what? We just found it. So I'm going to go back to that sentence.
Flex out Ross came away under her hands and felt whispering a long way down.
That's absolutely right. And so I'm going to go back here. Hold on, let me go. It's not letting me go. Oh, it's not letting me go back. Okay, I'll do it manually. Okay, I go back here. I'll add it. In reality, you could do this all in your head if you... Oh, it's not letting me copy? Oh my god. Anyway. Oh, wait, maybe I have this open in my computer too. If I do, yes I do. Let me just find that sentence. Flex. One second. Where is it? Okay. Flecks of rust came on the way and fell a long way down. Okay, fine. Let's use that sentence. Put it here. Okay. I'm going to have to move it down a little bit. Okay, good enough. And now, what would you do in the guess column?
What is what I think about the meaning of this word in the contest?
Perfect. That's exactly right. It's your guess from the context. What is your guess? You know what rust is, right? Remember, she's going down a well, it's wet, and there's the ladder is made of metal, right?
Yes.
So what happens to metal when it gets wet?
Burn.
What's the word?
When the metal is
Wet.
wet, it's cold.
Well, it feels cold, but what happens to what happens when water?
Okay. It's a chemical process.
Right, and it's called rust.
Okay.
So flecks of rust came away under her hands as she went down the ladder. So what do you think a fleck of rust is? A fleck.
Dust. A kind of dust.
Okay, a kind of dust. Excellent. Kind of dust. And in fact, you're right. It is something like that. If you look up the definition, it's probably more like pieces of something, and it's similar to flakes.
It's similar a Spanish word in a piece of factory. Factory? No. Factory.
Factory? Fabrica?
Fabric. Yes.
Yeah. Factory.
No fabric. Tela. Flecos.
Flecos.
Yes.
Like in your breakfast cereal in the morning. Right? It's the same word.
Yes.
Because in Portuguese it's flacos. Okay, and then the last thing you're going to do is create an example. Let me hear. Let's give someone else a chance. Andrew, what would you say for flex? Could you give an example of your own based on what we talked about?
I found some flecks of bread in my meal.
And flecks of what in my meal?
Yes.
Flecks of what?
Bread.
Bread? B-R-E-A-D?
Yes.
In my meal. In my meal? Why, you weren't expecting to have bread?
It was a surprise.
Okay. I would add one word. I would say stale bread. Stale means when it gets old and hard. So that makes more sense because a fleck is like a piece, like a little slice, and it's usually rigid. So if you say I found flecks of stale bread in my meal and I was surprised, I would say that's a great example. If it wasn't stale, it probably wouldn't be flecks because, as I said, flecks are rigid. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So far, I know that flex is just a little bit of something.
Yeah, but it's like the word flake. Uh-oh, what was that? I think someone had a chainsaw in Andrew's house. I hope you're not You okay, Andrew? Um, so it's more than just pieces. It's pieces, but it's usually like a flake, and a flake is usually flat, and it's usually hard or rigid. Like you could say, if you don't wash your hair for 2 weeks, you could say, I found flecks of dandruff all over my clothes. You know what dandruff is?
Yes.
So, or gold. When you chip off gold, it's in flecks. Also, metal can be in flecks. Well, rust. Okay, now that we got your strategy here, find a word, go to the context, make a guess of your own, give a definition, and compare it to a dictionary definition, or just look it up. I wouldn't do a lot of dictionary work because it slows you down. Maybe only if it's absolutely necessary. But then create an example of your own, and then you get it corrected. That's the best thing you can do. Let's go back one page. Just curious if you had a chance to think about any of these questions, like this one. Some objects in the story have a powerful symbolic meaning. Okay, I don't know about powerful. I maybe disagree with that because I've decided that I hate this story and I hate the author. That's my personal opinion. Actually, the story isn't that bad, but I'm not sure that I like it. So I disagree with the word powerful, but symbolic, absolutely. It says identify the objects and explain their meaning. Well, my problem with the story is that the symbolism is just too obvious. It doesn't tell me anything new. Although I do kind of like the symbolism between the egg and the well, because I think that there is a kind of, it's my own interpretation, but I feel like this is the story of an egg hatching. So I think that's not so bad. But the whole egg and the secret, I don't know. It doesn't work for me very well. That's just my opinion. I do think the writing is good, but I'm just not that happy with the story itself, particularly with the ending. What do you think about the symbolism in the story?
I think symbolic objects in this story is a well. So Kylie many times go down a lot of stuffs she like, maybe books, and then she find herself comfort and safe. So I think well symbolize her feeling, her inner her.
Her inner what? I didn't get the last.
Inner Kyle.
Oh, her interior life, like her inside.
Inside, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think the well is her egg, and it's her protective shell, and that shell is broken by Philip. I think you're right, and I think that when she comes out, she hatches like a little chick, but instead of hatching and being the person that she wants to be, she sort of becomes this monster. and I don't know what I'm learning from the story. That's why it bothers me. I'm not sure what he's trying to say. I mean, I can guess, but I don't know if he's trying to say that if you push someone too hard, even if they're 7 years old, they're going to explode. Or I'm not sure what the message is, but it kind of bothers me. Well, besides the well, what else is symbolic?
A photo album, maybe?
Okay, could be, yeah. I think you're actually right about that. What do you think it symbolizes?
Pues, old memories of her previous life with her father.
Yeah, absolutely. It symbolizes her memories, yeah. So she could sit in the well thinking, but because this is a story, and it's written almost like a movie, it's like we're watching a movie, It's very sort of visual. It makes sense that she's looking at a photo album because then we can see her looking at memories. So yeah, I agree completely. And she brings and that's where she goes to the well to reflect. So it makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Um, what do you think about my theory that the well is her egg, and she hatches to become an evil chicken? What do you think about that theory? Andrew, do you like that theory?
I kind of agree with you, but I think what she has done with that poor hen
Uh-huh.
reflects Philip's attitude to her.
Ah.
So Philip uh, uh, forbi- uh, Philip doesn't let her go into the well,
Uh-huh.
and she was angry. So her egg, as you are saying, was broken,
Yeah.
and now she did the same to the hen.
Yeah. I thought so too. It's like she's protecting and destroying her secret at the same time. Like her secret is not a secret anymore.
Yeah.
So she takes the things that she was keeping secret, the egg and the hen, and throws them into the well, which is kind of a weird moment because it's violent, but at the same time, that's where she was keeping everything safe. So it's sort of like, I guess she's saying, I don't know. I really hate this story, to be honest with you.
And in the end, she gets her photograph with her family and cuts
Yeah,
her
that's true.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
forgot.
so it is kind of meaning she decided to give up with the past. So like everything has gone and nothing will return.
That's true. So that's another symbolic moment. She gives up the past by punching holes in her picture. I don't know.
I think it's a very interesting opinion that whale the whale symbolize the egg, and all is born there in secret place. Um, a monster might be born from there, and that is a plot of this story. And in the end of the story, a girl become some kind of monster.
Yeah, because
And every girl might to become a monster. Every children every child have a secret in their heart.
Mhm.
And that the main plot of this story. So it's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, my only problem with it is that it's so obvious, you know? I mean, not the fact that she's born as something else, if that's what it means. I mean, it's just my interpretation. But just the well and the egg seem so obvious that they don't say very much. It's not unique. I don't get a sense of her personality. What makes Kylie an individual? That's what bothers me. I don't know if anyone else is bothered by that. By the way, I chose this story because it's a very famous writer. I mean, a very famous writer, very prolific writer, and we should be exposed to different kinds of writing. But we don't have to like it. In this case, something really bothers me because I feel like the characters aren't really characters. You know, like for example, a long time ago we read a kind of similar type of prose by what's his name? Oh, what was the author's name? Yuki, remember the story about the young people in college in around World War II or just after the war, I think it was. And the guy's going on his trip to college. He's being driven across the country, and they stop at the party. What was the name of the author? I just like the most famous author in the 20th century. I forgot his name. What is his name?
Kurt Vonnegut Jr. No.
No, I love Vonnegut. No, Vonnegut's a genius. This guy is someone who everyone respects, and I just don't get him. what was his name? Oh, I'm just blanking on his name, and I forgot the
Dennis
name.
Johnson, no?
No, Dennis Johnson's
No.
too great.
Raymond Carver, no?
Henry Carver.
No.
Oh God, I forgot his name. Anyway, it'll come back to me. It's an earlier story we read, very similar, but set in America, where you get to see all these details of American life and the way the people speak and the way they interact.
But
I,
but after of the
yeah,
author of this story is Tim Winton. He is from Australia, so
right.
I think he's. I feel from this story some kind of indigenous Australian feature.
You see, because I don't. That's what
Yeah.
bothers me. I don't feel anything Australian about this, except that they're in the countryside. That's the only thing that makes it unique for me. Okay, a couple of words, Vasaki. Okay, we don't say that, but that's what bothers me. I'll tell you the name of the story I was thinking of. I'll
This
find it
story
in.
is sensitive. In this meaning, maybe it looks like a British novel, but I feel at the same time I feel something like indigenous, something native.
Can you put your finger on it? What feels indigenous about it? I mean, maybe you're right. It's just me, but what's the part that makes it
Maybe
Australian?
hen, yeah.
What is it?
Hens,
The hens.
eggs. Maybe land and well.
Oh, the story. I found it. The story I was talking about was John Updike, "The Happiest I've Been" by John
Yes,
Updike.
John Updike. Yes, he's
It's
famous.
another author that everyone respects, but I can't get into John Updike, even though I really appreciate his writing. But compared to John Updike, I think Updike, I feel like there are characters. I feel some dimension that's beyond the prose, and there's something very real. Even though I'm not that crazy about him as an author, I can appreciate his prose. Here, that's my problem, is I don't feel that Kylie is a unique person. She seems like a stereotype to me. And Philip and the mother is not even. I mean, if you're a man writing about women, you should probably go out of your way to make them unique and special, because otherwise you're perpetuating stereotypes, right? You're going to be really called out for it. If you're a writer, particularly. And I feel like that's what he's doing. The mother's not even a character. That really bothers me. Doesn't that bother you? Girls, women, Shadow, Sylvia. Don't you think?
My figure.
Well, let's hear from the girls here. Sylvia, Shadow. Don't you think the women in the story are portrayed as one-dimensional? Don't you feel that, or is that just me?
No. Okay, go ahead, Sylvia. No, I read the first part something like last week.
Yeah.
And so I really don't remember what they say. I remember this hag, and so I can say nothing.
You can, because if you can't remember them, that means they weren't memorable, don't you think?
Well, that was memorable, but I don't know the meaning because I haven't finished reading.
What do you think, Shadow? Did you feel like they were too stereotypical? Because that's my problem with the characters.
It's not about mother. I think the story is about Kelly, so he focused on Kelly and what happened with her.
Right.
Even I think Villa here it's not that much.
Even though the what is not that much?
I mean her husband.
Philip. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he focused just on Kelly, so because of that I think it's not obvious.
But do you think, is Kelly an individual or is Kelly an idea? Because when I read it, I feel like Kelly is an idea. I don't see what makes her unique. That's my problem. Is that just me? Am I the only one? Maybe I am. Do you feel that Kelly is unique? If you were looking at that, you would say, oh, I knew a girl like Kelly. Or would you say, oh, Kelly is anyone?
I am confused really about Kelly because he's in this story. She's she's looking to herself in different way. And if you read it, you sometimes he said that when she looked to the album, she saw herself ugly and short and dark.
Yeah.
When I mean, comparing herself to her mother. And in the other paragraph, he said when she looked to the album, it made her confident and made her think that her mother and Philip are stupid. So I'm confused really.
Yeah, also, I don't know, for some reason, I don't picture her short and dark. I have no idea why. Something in the story makes me picture a little thin blonde-haired girl with blue eyes. I don't know why. Something in the description, it doesn't match the feeling I get because she's climbing trees, climbing fences. I picture this energetic little sporty girl. I don't know. It doesn't match what the feeling I get from the story as well. Anyway, well, we've got lots of other questions we could ask or talk about if you want to discuss any of these. Also, at the very bottom, another activity that you could try was picking one element of the story and forming an hypothesis. That means a guess about it, hypothesis, and turning it into a question. So I had one. My example was this story probably was written a while ago. I don't know exactly when it was written. Not that long ago, because he's not that old. But I noticed that she's not using Twitter, Facebook, or PlayStation. And I was just thinking, kids today probably don't do the things that Kylie was doing. So my question was, Kylie has different habits than do kids today. Does the lack of technology affect our reading of the childhood story in any way? So when I say context, I'm talking about the context of the story itself. So that was an example of a context question. We don't have to talk about that question. I just wanted to give you an example. So we can talk about that question, but I'd really like to hear a question that you have regarding any of those elements: plot, setting, conflict, character, point of view, or theme. So did anyone have a chance to formulate a question about one of those? You did, Sylvia? Excellent. Which one? Sylvia's she's raising her hand. Oh, about point of view? Okay, go ahead, Sylvia. What was your question about point of view?
Point of view, so
Isn't it great if I call on you, you magically come up with a question?
point of view. So can I compare with now? Do you think that now do you think that now the children can have the same point of view of Kali?
You think that now, you mean nowadays, right?
Yes.
Children, not can have, but children have the same point of view. Okay, it's a good question, but can you just define what her point of view was? What was her point of view, so that we know how to answer the question better?
I remember that she was looking the new husband of her, his not new husband, the friend of his mother.
Stepfather.
Yeah, and he compared his smile with some pastry, and it was terrible.
She compares Philip to what?
The smell of a pastry.
She does? Are
yes,
you sure?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I don't know, I don't think so.
There was a word that was wrong, written wrong.
You mean this word pasty?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a typo in the, because I had to hand type this because there was only a PDF. I couldn't copy and paste it, so I wrote.
Even if she was describing him not in a good way.
Yeah, of course, yeah. He smelt of cigarettes and mustache hairs. I don't know what mustache hairs smell like, but he smelled of cigarettes and mustache hairs. Kylie thought his feet were the shape of pasties. I have no idea what a pasty is, though. I don't know what it means. I don't know what a pasty is, unless we're talking about a stripper in Las Vegas. Then I know what a pasty is, but that's not what this means. I don't know what it means. I looked it up. I don't know what it means. I don't know what a pasty is.
I thought what pastries.
It's not pastries. It's pasties. Because the original story, I think I wrote pastry, but it was a typo because I had to OCR the text. I do optical character recognition, so there was all these little mistakes, and I might not have. Well, I don't know. Pasties. Maybe here I'm looking it up. I've eaten plenty of pasties and thought of them as differently shaped meat pies. I have no idea what a pasty is. Maybe it's Australian. Pasties, Cornish pasties. Oh, let's take a look. Maybe it is food. Maybe you're right.
I think they want to say that there is a meat inside. With use by using the word pasty. So hen's feet looks like a pasty full of meat.
The guy's got nasty
containing meat, and
it's
it's a wide flat. Yeah, no.
I guess. Look, here's the pasty. This is what Google Images. This is a pasty. Can you see it?
So
apparently that's a pasty. A
figure is
pasty.
Quite obscure.
Or maybe he's got big
and containing full of meat.
Yeah. So let's go back to Sylvia's question. Your question was, can children, or do children today, have the same point of view? And the point of view you mean is her negative feelings towards Philip? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Or is that just one example?
This is only one example, but I was thinking that nowadays there are so many families with the parents that split up.
Divorce, right?
Yes.
Gotta answer the phone, Sylvia.
Yes, it's a busy day, sorry.
Okay. Group, what do you think?
Regarding Sylvia's question?
Yeah.
I think, yes, nowadays, many children are not so far from Kylie in their nature. I think many child not. I often see that a lot of child are playing with game alone, and they are thinking about something, but adults cannot guess what nowadays child is thinking about, and many. I mean the Japanese child. Yeah, Japanese children. Children don't like to communicate with each other. They just get into the game and manga. So I think they have a private space in a world, a private space inside of them, and maybe a monster might be born among them.
But a manga monster.
No, not a manga monster. Not so cute, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Recently, a child in Japan, there is a big incident. School children, one school child cut the head of his girlfriend in classmate, and put the head of girl onto the gate of the school.
Jeez.
It was a big It became a big scandal in Japan. Many people argued about the education, a problem of Japanese education and children, and maybe there is a many influence, maybe habit of habit of doing game, and maybe influence on the incident. No, I don't know.
Or maybe he's
I
crazy.
remembered of this incident from reading this text.
Well, Sylvia, how does that compare to your thoughts about that, since it's your question? He's saying, I think what Yuki's getting at is that children today, they're kind of wrapped up in this other fantasy world, because there's so much more media. And in this story, there's no media. That's kind of going back to my point, too. So,
Yeah.
So what's your feeling about it? And maybe you can compare and contrast your idea with Yuki's, if it's different.
Yes, it's true that nowadays they have some media and Xbox and all the other internet and everything, but I don't think they change so much. There are always
So
they have only different opportunities.
So when we talk about point of view, we're also talking about not the psychology of the character, but we're also talking about the point of view of the story, which is through the eyes of Kylie. So we're getting the way children feel, or the way she feels, from her point of view. We're seeing the world through her point of view. Do you think it's an accurate portrayal? Do you think it makes sense? Yeah?
Yes.
We don't have a lot of time here. Let me just ask one more question here. What do you think the overall theme of the story is? Shadow, let me ask that one to you. If you had to summarize it, what would you say the theme of the story is? In other words, what are we learning about by reading about Kylie and her family?
I think this story is about a family. No, it's not about family. It's about kid. How they can see their family. I mean, separated and apart. Like
so how they cope, maybe.
Cope. I don't know what the meaning of cope.
Cope is the same as to deal with. When there's a problem, how you deal with it is how you cope with it. So dealing with something difficult. So the overall theme is about how children cope with a family breakup or whatever happened to her family.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Cope, that's the right word, cope. And Daniel, do you think it's as bleak as the story suggests? Because the way she copes with it is pretty violent. When I say bleak, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
I use a lot of fancy words. Bleak means without hope. Without hope. So, if global warming is true, humanity faces a bleak future.
Okay.
Right? Hope, without hope.
No, I think it's a little bit exaggerated, Blake.
The story?
Yes. Because children, me, sometimes we did something similar. Kill a little animal.
Really? I never killed any animal.
Yes, an ant. or a bee or a fly?
Oh, but those are insects.
Okay. I don't know.
Saturday.
Maybe the child is very sad and very getting angry, and the little chicken crows in front of her, and suddenly she throw to the wheel,
Right.
but straight away she mm, um, she isn't happy. Mm,
She has a reaction.
regret.
That's true. You know, we don't see what happens afterwards. Maybe this is just a moment that, and she does regret it, which means that she has more humanity than she appears to have. So we don't really get to see the follow-up. Maybe in the next scene of the story, if there was another scene, she would snap out of it and regret what she did and learn from it. So yeah, maybe we're not seeing enough of her to really see the full lesson that she's learning or something like that. Well, listen, we've got to start the next class. So in the next story we're going to do, I did post a link so you could start reading it if you want. It's very short and a bit mysterious. And I have a little presentation about the author because it's a very different style of writing. So it's a true postmodern author. But if you want, read the story over the weekend once because it's very short. Read it out loud also because it's very musical, and see what you make of it. We are probably going to read it in the next class because it's so short we can just read it once anyway. But if you want, get a head start. Okay, I'll be back in just a minute to start the business class. Thank you so much for your discussion. I think our discussion was better than the story in this case. I think it was more interesting than the story. I don't know. I don't know what I think about Tim Winston. No, but anyway, don't forget also that strategy we learned about vocabulary. There's a lot of good vocabulary in the story, and it's pretty easy to follow most of the prose. So think about that too as we move on. Bye for now. I'll be back in just a minute. Bye for now, everyone. See you soon.